January 1945, the Philippines. A humid dusk hangs over the rice fields of Luzon. In the fading light, a convoy of trucks rumbles past. The Japanese are moving prisoners. Men who once wore the proud stars and stripes on their sleeves, now reduced to skeletons of their former selves. Inside a crumbling camp near the town of Cabanatuan, over 500 American POWs wait. Sick, starved, forgotten, they've survived the Bataan death march, malaria, and years of torture. But now a darker rumor spreads through the camp. The Japanese are planning to kill all remaining prisoners before the Americans return. Miles away, deep in the jungle, the U.S. 6th Ranger Battalion receives the news. Colonel Henry Mucci, a man with steel in his eyes, knows what must be done. He gathers 120 volunteers. Their mission: rescue every last man from Cabanatuan. Failure is not an option. The Rangers begin their march through enemy territory. The sun fades, mosquitoes buzz, and the sound of boots disappears into the jungle. Each man knows, one wrong move means death. They carry only what they can: guns, ammo, rations, and hope. Local Filipino scouts join them, the Alamo Scouts and Guerrillas of Captain Juan Pajota. They know the land, the paths, the enemy's patrol routes. Without them, the mission is impossible. That night, the men crawl through swamps and mud, every leaf and twig a possible betrayal. A Japanese convoy passes only yards away. The Rangers freeze. No one breathes. After what feels like forever, the trucks move on. The path to Cabanatuan lies ahead, but so does the enemy. Tomorrow night, the raid will begin. If they fail, 500 men will die. If they succeed, it will be one of the most daring rescues of the war. As the men rest beneath the stars, Mucci whispers to his lieutenant, "Tomorrow, we make history." The night is silent. Too silent. Deep in the heart of the Philippine jungle, the Rangers lie in wait, every sense on high alert. The air is thick, broken only by the incessant hum of insects. Captain Prince studies his map under the faint glow of a dim red light. He knows there is no room for error. Every step must be precise, every movement calculated. One wrong move, just one snapped twig, could bring the full force of Japanese patrols crashing down on their heads. The fate of hundreds of men rests on their shoulders. Ahead of the main force, the legendary Alamo Scouts move like phantoms through the dense undergrowth. They are the eyes and ears of the operation, their own eyes trained for the slightest hint of enemy movement. Suddenly, they halt. Up ahead, a Japanese guard post materializes from the shadows. Two soldiers, their cigarettes glowing like fireflies in the dark, stand dangerously close to the trail. The Rangers behind them freeze, their breath catching in their throats. A signal is given, a silent language passed from man to man. The scouts creep forward, their movements fluid and deadly. There's a glint of steel, a flash of a knife in the moonlight, and then silence once more. The sentries are neutralized. The path to Cabanatuan, the path to the prison camp, is now open. The first obstacle has been cleared, but the most dangerous part of their journey has just begun. As the first hints of dawn paint the eastern sky, Lieutenant Colonel Mucci gives the order for the men to take cover and rest in the tall, concealing grass. They have been marching for over 30 grueling miles, battling not just the jungle but also the stifling heat, the thick mud, and the gnawing fear that is every soldier's companion. The physical and mental toll is immense. Some men, their bodies pushed beyond their limits, simply collapse from sheer exhaustion. Others, their faces etched with fatigue, just stare at the distant horizon, their thoughts consumed by the men they are here to save. The prisoners who have endured 3 long years of hell, waiting, hoping for a freedom they were beginning to think would never come. By noon, the relative calm is shattered. Filipino guerrillas, their local allies, bring urgent, heart-stopping news. A column of Japanese troops, a significant force, is rapidly approaching the main road that leads directly to the camp. The timing is disastrous. If those Japanese soldiers reach the camp's vicinity first, the entire mission, this meticulously planned, high-stakes gamble, will fail before it even begins. The element of surprise will be lost, and the raid will turn into a slaughter. Captain Pajota, the charismatic and battle-hardened leader of the Filipino guerrillas, steps forward without hesitation. He understands the stakes better than anyone. He volunteers his men, his brave fighters, to intercept the Japanese column and hold them off, to create a vital diversion. It's a suicide mission, but a necessary one. Mucci looks at him, seeing the fierce determination in his eyes, and gives a single, firm nod. "Do it," he commands. "No one gets through." Pajota and his men melt back into the jungle, their own desperate battle about to begin. With the guerrillas buying them precious time, the Rangers resume their advance. They are now moving closer, crawling on their bellies across vast open fields under the scorching, unforgiving sun. Every rustle of the grass, every bird that takes flight, every sound could mean discovery and death. The tension is a physical thing, a weight pressing down on each man. Suddenly, a distant rumble vibrates through the ground, growing louder with each passing second. It's the unmistakable sound of engines. Japanese trucks, a whole convoy, are heading straight for the camp, on the very road the Rangers are trying to avoid. The men flatten themselves against the dirt, trying to will themselves invisible, their hearts pounding a frantic rhythm against their ribs. Dust and the roar of engines fill the air, a deafening wave of noise and danger that seems to last an eternity. And then, just as quickly as it began, it's over. Silence descends again. The convoy passes by, completely oblivious to the American soldiers lying mere yards away. It feels like a miracle, a moment of divine intervention. They are still in the game. By late afternoon, after what feels like a lifetime of crawling and hiding, the Rangers reach their final staging point, a dense sugarcane field just 1 mile from the Cabanatuan prison camp. Through their binoculars, the grim reality of their objective comes into sharp focus. They can see the barbed wire fences, the imposing guard towers, and beyond them, the skeletal figures of the prisoners. American and Allied soldiers, once proud and strong, now reduced to starving men in tattered, filthy uniforms. A surge of cold fury and determination runs through every Ranger. They know those men have been counting the days, the hours, waiting for this very moment for 3 long, torturous years. As the sun dips below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, Mucci gathers his officers for one final briefing. In the fading light, they spread a hand-drawn map on the jungle floor. The plan is simple, audacious, and deadly. 2 attack teams. One will hit the main gate from the front, a loud and violent distraction. The other will assault the camp from the rear, slipping in to free the prisoners amidst the chaos. The time is set, 7:30 p.m., when darkness will provide their ultimate cover. The raid begins. There is no turning back now. A quiet, solemn ritual unfolds across the sugarcane field. Each man loads his rifle, checks his grenades, and offers a silent prayer to whatever God he believes in. They are preparing for the fight of their lives. In the distance, a single dog barks from inside the camp, its sound carrying clearly on the night air. The men exchange glances, a silent acknowledgement passing between them. The time is near. Mucci looks at his men, at the 120 faces illuminated by the faint moonlight, faces hardened by fear, but also shining with courage and an unwavering sense of duty. He takes a deep, steadying breath, the weight of the moment pressing down on him. He looks from man to man, his voice low but clear, filled with a resolve that cuts through the tension. "Gentlemen, let's go get our boys and bring them home. Thank you for watching. If this story of courage and sacrifice moved you, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to our channel for more incredible true stories from history. We'll see you in the next one." January 30th, 1945. The Philippines. Darkness has fallen over the Cabanatuan POW camp, a place of starvation, disease, and despair. For over 500 Allied prisoners of war, it's been 3 years of hell. 3 years of wondering if they'd ever see home again. Tonight, that question will be answered. In the humid jungle air, the only sounds are the chirping of crickets and the distant, ominous rumble of gunfire. The men inside the camp, skeletal figures in rags, barely notice. They've heard it all before. But tonight is different. Outside the barbed wire, hidden in the tall, swaying grass, an elite force is waiting. The U.S. Army's 6th Ranger Battalion, led by the audacious Lieutenant Colonel Henry Mucci. Alongside them, hundreds of brave Filipino guerrillas, led by Captains Juan Pajota and WW2’s, are poised to block any Japanese reinforcements. Their mission? Impossible. To march 30 miles behind enemy lines, assault a heavily guarded camp, and rescue every last prisoner. The plan is meticulously timed, down to the second. At 7:30 p.m., a single American P-61 Black Widow night fighter is scheduled to fly over. Its purpose to create a distraction, to draw the eyes of the Japanese guards to the sky. As the plane's engines were due, a wave of anxiety hit the Rangers. What if it didn't show? The entire mission hinged on this one moment. Colonel Mucci clutched his rifle, his knuckles white. Every man held his breath, listening. The silence was deafening. Then, a faint hum. It grew louder, a deep, resonant roar that sliced through the jungle's quiet. The Black Widow, right on schedule. It swooped low over the camp, its engines thundering. The Japanese guards, just as predicted, looked up, their attention diverted, trying to identify the lone aircraft. They assumed it was just another reconnaissance flight, a common sight. In that critical moment of distraction, the jungle came alive. "Go!" The whispered command rippled through the lines. From the tall grass, shadows rose as one. 120 Rangers began their silent, methodical crawl towards the camp's perimeter. This was the moment of truth. They moved like ghosts, their faces blackened with charcoal, their hearts pounding in their chests. Captain Robert Prince led one assault team, slithering on their bellies towards the main gate. On the other side, Lieutenant John Murphy's platoon moved to flank the rear. Every rustle of a leaf, every snap of a twig could mean disaster. The first guard tower loomed ahead, a dark silhouette against the faintly lit sky. A ranger took aim, a soft, suppressed thwip from a rifle, and the guard crumpled without a sound, his post silenced before he could raise an alarm. The first domino had fallen. Suddenly the night erupted. The Rangers opened fire with everything they had. The main gate was blasted open. "Go, go, go!" Mucci's voice roared over the din. The Rangers stormed into the compound, a torrent of controlled chaos. Bullets ripped through the flimsy barracks. Searchlights crisscrossed the yard, wildly searching for targets only to be shot out one by one. Grenades exploded, sending shrapnel and dirt flying. The air filled with the acrid smell of gunpowder and smoke. The Japanese garrison, caught completely by surprise, scrambled for their weapons, disoriented and overwhelmed. Inside the barracks, the prisoners were jolted from their weary stupor. The sudden violence was terrifying. At first, they thought it was the end, a final, brutal execution. They huddled together, bracing for the worst. Then, a barracks door burst open, and a figure stood silhouetted in the doorway, not in a Japanese uniform, but an American one. He yelled words they had only dreamed of hearing. "We're Americans. We're here to get you out. Everybody get on your feet." Disbelief. Then, a tidal wave of emotion. Men who hadn't stood in weeks tried to rise. Some collapsed, too weak. Others simply wept, tears carving clean paths through the grime on their faces. They couldn't comprehend it. Freedom had arrived in a storm of fire and steel. A ranger scooped up a man who couldn't walk, throwing him over his shoulder. "I got you, buddy. We're going home." Meanwhile, outside the camp, a different battle was raging. Captain Pajota's Filipino guerrillas had sprung their trap. As Japanese reinforcements rushed down the Cabu River Bridge, the guerrillas unleashed a devastating ambush. Machine guns lit up the darkness, cutting down the enemy forces. They had created a wall of fire, a deadly roadblock that bought the Rangers inside the camp precious life-saving minutes. Their courage and sacrifice were the bedrock of the entire operation. Back inside, the evacuation was a frantic, desperate race against time. The Rangers acted as both soldiers and medics. They carried the weakest prisoners on their backs, guided others through the chaos, and used makeshift stretchers to pull the infirm. One prisoner, his leg shattered, looked up at the young ranger carrying him and whispered, "I knew you'd come." The ranger, his face grim with determination, just nodded. "We don't leave anyone behind." The camp was now an inferno. The Rangers had set fire to the barracks to ensure nothing was left for the enemy. The Japanese resistance was crumbling. Mucci gave the final order. "Move out, to the extraction point, now." A long, stumbling column of over 600 men, Rangers and liberated prisoners, melted back into the jungle. It was a slow, agonizing journey. They walked, limped, and crawled through the darkness, supported by their rescuers. Behind them, the fires of Cabanatuan painted the night sky orange, a funeral pyre for years of suffering. As dawn broke, they reached the rendezvous point near the Pampanga River, and there, another miracle awaited them. Filipino villagers emerged from the landscape bringing carts, water, and food. They helped carry the wounded on bamboo stretchers, their faces etched with compassion. This raid wasn't just an American victory. It was a testament to the powerful alliance and shared humanity between the American soldiers and the Filipino people. When the survivors finally crossed into friendly territory, the celebration was overwhelming. Soldiers cheered, medics rushed forward, and men who had endured the unimaginable simply stood in stunned silence, breathing the air of freedom. They had survived. Colonel Mucci, covered in mud and utterly exhausted, watched as the last of the prisoners were brought to safety. Of the 513 men they went in to save, 513 were brought out. The Rangers had suffered only 2 men killed in action, a casualty rate so low it was almost unbelievable. It was and remains the most successful rescue mission in U.S. military history. Looking back towards the jungle, Mucci allowed himself a small, weary smile. His words were simple, but they carried the weight of a promise fulfilled. We brought them home. The Great Raid on Cabanatuan is more than just a military operation. It's a powerful story of courage, hope, and the unbreakable will to survive. It's a reminder that even in the darkest of times, heroes rise and miracles can happen. Thanks for watching. If this story moved you, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing for more incredible stories from history.